So I have Wendi here.
Yes.
Welcome, Wendi.
Thank you.
We
glad
are
to be here.
We're glad to have you
Questioned and answered.
here. I promise it'll be painless.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about female worship leadership, what it's like to lead worship here at Parkwood, and be a female because you are female.
Right.
So.
Exactly. In a room full of males.
In a room full of males. And then also talk about the song that you led and recorded for the album, which is one of my favorites.
Okay.
So
Yeah. It was fun.
let's dive in and let's talk about it.
All right.
So, Wendi, you have been here longer than I've been here
Yes.
at Parkwood. How many years have you been at Parkwood?
17 years. And
Wow.
that's as long as I've been married because we found a church together and started here together. So this year it'll be 17 years.
So you and Mark came to Parkwood together then?
Yes,
All right.
yes, we did. We wanted to find somewhere we could start together.
Yeah, and so when I came, I remember this. I think you were
Yes.
pregnant.
I was 5,000 months pregnant. I was, yes, with my youngest, Bennett. So I
a
wasn't
record.
singing. Like, I remember meeting
Yeah,
you saying, I'll
yeah.
be back when I can breathe.
Yes.
When I can sing and breathe, I'll be back.
That was your introduction. I'm going to
Yes.
join, but I can't
Yes.
right now,
That's
clearly.
right. That's right. That was it.
And it wasn't shortly after, though, that you were back involved in everything that we did. And so it's been a joy to serve with you for 11 years.
Right. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's great. Our worship ministry is great, and we're glad to have you too.
Well, it's good to be here. So when did you start singing in church? Did you start as a youngin'?
So we had children's choirs. I think youth, we would have some events when we would get youth pastors in for the summer. We would do
Yeah.
big events. I think about high school. I
Yeah,
started
okay,
singing.
okay.
I think my first solo in church was an Amy Grant song. So that was how long ago that was.
Back in the day.
Yes. And since then, been singing since in several different churches before
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
But pretty much since teenage years.
Yeah. So what was singing like back then as comparison to like what you do today, and just tell us a little bit about your worship leadership experience.
I think life experience is what's changed a lot. I mean, then and even maturing in what you understand about the gospel and about singing and about who you are and what you're here to do. If you've been given a gift, whatever it is, to use it to
Right.
glorify God. But younger and singing years ago, I didn't have as many life experiences to understand like the grace that I sing about that I don't deserve, or the miracles that you've seen. And so you sing songs, and if you've lived it, you just, as you get older, your words just, I think you can see it. You can see it in your worship, or you feel it in your worship, and you hope that others can see there's a reason why you're singing.
Yeah. What's the difference between like for you singing a song for whatever and leading in congregational song? Because these days we probably do more leading of congregational song than we do anything else.
Right. I think leading congregationally, it's everybody together. You're leading it, but a lot of times, which I love these parts where we pull back and we hear everybody
Come out of the
because
mic.
everybody has their own thing they brought in. Everybody has their own reason why they're there to worship. And some of them, the lost, they have no idea what all these people are doing. So the congregation worship is wonderful. Leading, it's fun to just, it's like your own shout out to God, when you have the lead and there's things that you can do around what either the congregation or the choir's doing.
Right.
That's fun. It's a fun challenge, a fun thing to do.
Right. So what, you have watched sort of worship culture change in your lifetime, as I've watched it in my lifetime. I remember growing up that the only thing that females really did in worship were sing solos or sing in the choir. And that's really the only time a female was on stage. I don't ever recall a time, maybe a female might give a testimony on some sort of testimony night.
Right.
But I don't remember females having leadership or just even exercising gifts other than singing on the stage.
Right.
And you've probably watched that change. I know it has here to where when I first came, I probably led 90% of the material for Sunday morning worship. And I don't do that now.
Right.
It's spread out through you guys. It's not uncommon for you to lead one or two songs of service. A few Sundays ago, Amy read another worship leader
Right.
here, read scripture.
Right.
And so what has that been like to see that change? Has it just been something that's been a slow progression, or have you seen it? What is that like for you?
It's as a female in worship ministry, or even in ministry in the church, it's always seemingly been, yes, the guy leads worship, the guy's the choir director. But I think women, this is what I think, women can bring in a different climate maybe to specific songs.
Yeah.
You've given us the freedom, or to like when we lead a song, to do our own thing, or to try to lead worship, or try to get our point or our message across.
Right.
I think with women, the climate that we can bring, even though we may have a powerful voice, I think because we're women, I mean, moms, we're there's a kindness in a girl's voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a nurturing, because that's what we do. So
Yeah.
all the people that come in and they're here to worship,
Yeah.
guys lead worship, you hear men singing, and it's not discounting that, but I think that there are different people that can relate to different things.
Yes, yes.
Women or men. Small children may relate to a woman and worshiping, or her way that she's carrying out the song.
Yeah.
That's just something I appreciate.
Yeah. There's a very practical application to that. And I tell a lot of worship leaders this. If I lead every song, it's in a particular range.
Right.
And even though I'm trying to be careful about not getting my keys too high, it leaves a population of the church out.
Right.
Like it's either too high for them or too low for them, or something's wrong with it.
Right.
So by varying the different voices, varying the different voice types, it just helps the congregation go, okay, that one may have been out of my range,
Right.
but I can hang with her, or
Right.
vice versa. And I also think that in a worship service, so it doesn't sound one note the entire way through,
Right.
having different colors and textures. But I love what you just said about just the different quality that a female's voice brings,
Right.
in the presence. And let's face it, I think the percentage of females that attend church is higher than males who attend church.
Maybe so.
So we might be discounting a whole group of people by saying, okay, we're going to sing everything and everybody's a tenor these
Right.
days. Everybody sings
Right. Yes.
like Tomlin high.
Yes.
And only Tomlin sings that high. So
Exactly.
the rest of us shouldn't.
Exactly.
But, so I think it's great to have those different colors and textures. And
Right.
I want to talk a little bit about At the Cross. So I don't know if you know the backstory to this.
I don't.
So what happened was Micah Moffitt and I had written for an entire morning.
Okay.
And we did this quite a few times, actually. So
Right.
people are going to go, there's a pattern here. But we wrote a terrible song.
Okay.
We tried to write a song. I believe this day we tried to write a psalm setting and it didn't work.
Okay.
And I remember Micah looking at me and going, what else do you have? And I was like,
Get back out of the trash.
Yes, exactly. I said, well, I love the hymn At the Cross because I like Isaac Watts wrote the verses. So last and did my Savior bleed.
Right.
But that chorus is actually from the revivalistic era. So it's kind of a little cheeseball-y
Right.
At the Cross.
Sing-songy.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It's rolled away. So I said, I really would love to set that again. And then I remember Micah leaving, and he texted me probably within a few hours and sang me the most beautiful melody to a verse
Wow. Okay.
I think I've ever heard. And then I remember sitting down at the piano and actually me writing the chorus.
Wow.
So he kind of wrote the verses, I kind of wrote the chorus. Still didn't have a bridge. And then what we tried to do with the bridge is he had 4 or 8 lines of the bridge.
Okay.
And we tried to condense those down and pull them into the bridge. So we came up with this. I think it's one of the prettiest melodies on the entire album. And I took it to Glenn, and who's our producer, and I was like, and instantly he was like, this thing is beautiful.
Okay.
And I remember him saying to me, it's got to have a special singer.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I think I can handle that.
See if we can find somebody.
But when you laid down your vocals, I think it was in an evening. Was it during the day or was it at night?
Gosh, I don't know. It turned into, I think it started in the day.
Yeah, it probably did. As all good album projects do.
Exactly.
It turned really long. But I remember sitting in the room and thinking, I think because your back was turned to us, we
Right.
couldn't see
Right.
you. And you were just the expressive nature that was in your voice. I remember thinking, that is probably one of the most incredible times I've ever heard Wendi sing anything.
Good.
And it still moves me every time I listen to this
Right.
on the project.
Right.
I want to know what you thought the first time you heard it. Like we're getting this from listening to you sing it. Did you feel that same way the first time you heard it, or were you terrified?
I was terrified. So, I mean, when I heard the track, and it's all new. I mean, it's a whole new, like you said, melody, and I thought this is such a mellow and seemingly dark kind of song.
Yeah.
And I didn't even pay attention to words. I didn't even pay attention to I was just like, I listened to it and I'm like, okay, so that's not like, it's just so somber. And I was thinking, how am I going to do this, honestly? And, but the more that I started to listen to it and just got it in my head and kept singing it, there was like a whole new thought process to this song. Because it's the old hymn. And honestly, the biggest feeling of reverence about this song, because I mean, I never paid attention to how it talked about how he bled, and he did that for such a worm as I, and all these words that we heard in the hymn years ago that never affected, but then I just the reverence of it just touched me in a way that like I'd never thought about it in the hymn, just never, because like at the cross, it was so sing-songy. Well, you didn't get at the cross where I first saw the light, that's just huge. And so yes, I've not heard everything, but it might be my favorite too, whether it was me singing it or not.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. And then the way that bridge, the way they decided to build that, and that was all our producer,
right?
And then one of the things when we laid down the choir on top of it.
Right.
I remember that night recording the choir and just thinking, it's still beautiful. Like it's beautiful. And then when all those voices come in at the end.
Right.
And just what they did with you. But then we go back to that beginning feel.
Yes.
Which I think just, for me, I don't even remember what that last lyric is. I think it's, "Will drops of grief could ne'er repay."
Yes, the debt of love I owe, but here I am, Lord, it's not that, but here's my life, I give it back to you.
It's like a surrender type lyric at the end. I just think it's beautiful in the way that it just dies at that moment. To me, it's like a response to thinking about the gospel. It's beautiful.
Like everything that happened on the cross, everything that you did for me when I didn't deserve it, and coming back and saying, all right, so I'm yours. Yes. And if it was a point where the realization that maybe I need to be a little stronger, be a little better, because the song is real. So here I am, Lord. I'm back. I'm yours. Use me.
Yeah. It's almost like a confession at the end, as a result of looking at the cross again.
Right.
And it's just beautiful.
Right.
Wendi, I think that we had set out on this project we actually had several more female songs on this project. And that none of them made. This is the one that actually came to fruition.
Right. Okay.
And in listening to the entire project, which I did this week, from cover to cover, this one just stands out, not just because of the female voice, but because of, in addition to that, just the lyric and just.
Right.
It's like almost a turning point on the album. It feels like, okay, this is just something that you have to. It makes me pause every time I listen to it and consider those lyrics. And
well, it is. It's a great, like I said, anybody that will remember. I think as people are listening to it, because it says at the cross, and I think as they're listening to it, they won't really grasp that. Wait a minute, until maybe halfway through, this is the old hymn,
right?
And I think it will be a new birth, and like I said, a reverence that people will take back from the song again.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure to talk with you about this, and I just can't wait for people to hear this one. I think they're going to love it, and it's also I shout out to all the females that serve in worship ministry. You ladies are incredible. And I could not do what I do without y'all, because it's just a joy to lead worship with you. And for those who are listening to this podcast who aren't here, our female worship leaders are worship leaders.
Right.
I mean, they are in it. They're in the zone with me. It's incredible. When they take a song, you guys take it.
Right.
And I just sometimes just step back and go, this is amazing.
Right. And we enjoy being used. I mean, we, there's places that you sing, or, you sing in your car, or you sing with your kids, or you sing at home. So your family can have worship in your home, but to have a place with believers that, there's a verse that I heard a message on worship, and it was 2 Thessalonians, maybe the first chapter, about how when the people, when Christ is revealed, the people will receive relief. Yeah. And as a worship leader, and females or males, that's what we do. That's whether it's the gospel, but when we sing and when we have the option to use our gifts and to let Christ be revealed, and the people are relieved of whatever they're going through. That's just a gift to be a part of. Yeah,
we're pointing everyone to Christ, and that's really why we sing so much gospel-centered songs here, because for those who are lost in their sin, He is the answer. Right. For those who are in desperate needs in their life, He's the answer. Right. He's always the answer. Right. And so it's a joy to point people to the gospel, and it's a joy to do that with you guys here. So glad you're here.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for coming in and talking to us.
Thank you.